Trapping plays a very important role in modern-day wildlife management. Professional wildlife biologists monitor fur-bearer populations to maintain a healthy and sustainable harvest of this important, renewable natural resource. Trapping provides recreation and income for licensed trappers across this country. The Fur Shed Series, brought to you by Who's Your Trapper Outdoors. Who's Your Trapper Supply? Leatherwood Creek Trapping Scents, HTS Productions, Who's Your Trapper Deer Scents, and Leatherwood Wildlife Art.
All right, show you a couple things I'm doing on these water traps. Just got these 1.5s that we use for muskrat on the fiberglass rods. Got the Hags brackets on them. These are some that I kind of set up in a hurry last year. And I didn't really like the setup. So what I'm doing is I'm taking those brackets off of here. And I'll tell you, this Ron Marsh tool works great for opening these rivets up. It's pretty tough. Taking those off. And I am not reusing those pre-bent rivets. And then we're going basically 4 full lengths. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to cut that off right there. Unfortunately, my trap tag's getting cut off with that. And at that point, we're adding universal swivel in here. This is just the basic universal swivel. And my swaging tool, I love this thing for closing these rivets up. It's so easy. I mean, you use the Ron Marsh tool, but I mean, here I've got the bench. If you're out in the field, out on the line or whatever, you need to open or close one, you've got to use the Ron Marsh tools in that instance. But then here, it's perfect. And then I'm adding, it's just the way it falls. It's 6 full lengths on this 2/0 chain. It's a little over a foot. And I'm adding that on there like that. So we got a basic swivel right here, and then we got the universal swivel here, and then at this point we're going to put the Hags bracket on the end, and then there's a swivel point here too. Then this setup right here, we're ending up with about 2 foot length here of chain. This will work on floats. It'll work on the fiberglass rods, and then work in any other scenario. Use a stake swivel too. So coon, muskrat, mink, that type of thing, all water trapping. Just a good basic, relatively inexpensive setup. Should last for years like this. So it's something I'm working on. I'm gonna do this before they get dyed. Switching this stuff out. Even we're not big rat trappers, but we intend to put in on a marsh this year here in Indiana. And if we get drawn for that, we'll certainly need this stuff. And if we don't, we may have another opportunity to go up to Michigan and do some trapping up there as well. So we'll have this stuff ready in case the opportunity arises that we can go do that. So I always like muskrat trapping. I always kind of think it's like bluegill fishing. You got lots of action, catch a lot of critters, and it's just good time. So that's the setup. Like I said, it's universal. It'll work on anything from floats to fiberglass rods to whatever. So that's what we're doing. I got my lengths of chain cut. One thing I did on my bench here is I marked off in 12-inch increments, and so I can just lay my chain on here or whatever and measure it out. This first one right here is a 6 inches, a foot divided in half. But so that's what I'm working on right now. I'll set up and I'll show you something else I'm working on too. All right, one thing I'm working on are some cable tie-offs. And I'm not a big fan of cable tie-offs. They've kind of got their place. I prefer to stake solid or use a drag. Sometimes, the ground's not suitable for a drag, or you're in a location where you may need to cable tie off, or the ground's frozen or too rocky or whatever. and then the other thing is that you've got a lot of weight when you're using drags. So this is a much more, you know, you can pack a lot of these. It's not going to take up much room, and there's not much weight to it. Last year we used some, and we caught several animals using the tie-offs, and we were using 3/32 cable, and you know, and in most cases we caught one animal, maybe two, and I was changing them out. They were getting kinked up. It wouldn't take a whole lot for a coyote really to chew through one if you worked on it hard. So that kind of concerned me too. So I thought, well, we'll put together some with 1/8 inch cable. I'm making them basically 10 foot long. I'm cutting two 5 foot pieces of 1/8 cable. Like I said, I measure them off here on my bench. And the one end, and I'll put one together here in a minute, but the one end has a swivel with a stop. And then I'm actually swiveling the center of the tie-off as well. So that right in the center of the tie-off, there's a swivel, which will take quite a bit of stress off the cable itself. There's a mess here. And then the other end is the loop end, you know, so we can, essentially we're gonna, obviously the way they work, you can go around a tree, fence post, bush, whatever. That's right here. And then this end, where the split ring is where your trap chain's attached. So, like I said, there's the place for these. One thing too, if you got a lot of raccoons or whatever, you got to make sure you got this cable buried. If they see it, they're going to grab it or pull it, and then they got your trap pulled out of your bed. So, you know, there's some pros and cons on these, but definitely, you know, they got a place. I'm going to make up about probably 4 dozen of them, and that'll give us plenty of tie-offs, and we'll have them if we need them. They're not going to take up much space. So what I'm doing, here's I got 2 5 foot pieces of cable here, and first thing I do is I put a swivel on the one end, and I am using a swivel washer. That goes on next, and then we put a aluminum stop on there. Putting this wager here to get that crimped. Basically, so that's what we've got going right here. We got the swivel on, and then the swivel washer, which gives some protection from keeping the stop from pulling through the hole on the washer, and then it also helps it doesn't bind up as much. So, all right, then the next end we're gonna put another swivel on, same exact thing. Swivel, washer, and the stop. 1/8 inch stop. Like I said, this is 1/8 inch cable, and I hope to get a lot more use out of them. And even more than that, I hope to have the insurance that I don't have to worry about that 3/32 cable getting chewed through or not holding up or whatever. All right, so at this point I got basically a 5 foot piece of 1/8 cable with a swivel on each end. So the other 5 foot piece, I'm going to come through here. I'll take a double stop. I should put that on there first. A double ferrule, 1/8, and then I'm going to make a loop here, just like that. So it's going through the swivel. Tighten this up a little bit. One thing about the 1/8 inch cable, it's a little more difficult to make your loops super tight, super small. So that's kind of where we're at on that. Come in here and get this crimped. Like so. And then on the other end, we're just going to put a loop on that end. And this is your tie-off end. This will be the part around the tree, so it doesn't need a swivel at that point. And that loop, you got to make sure it's big enough that you can get everything back through it. which, you know, essentially the swivels are about the only thing that has to fit through it. So, but make sure you got your cable through the end, and that you're not pulling yourself short here. So that's basically it. So we've got, like I said, 5-foot piece of cable swiveled on the end. This is where your trap's going to be attached. Then we've got the tie off, the cable tie off center swiveled here, which take a lot of stress off that cable. And then we got the loop end here, and that's you know, for you to go through and go around something. So that's what I'm doing. Like I said, I'm going to put maybe, I don't know, 4 dozen of them together. They're not going to take up much space, don't have much weight, and then we'll have them if we need them. And you know, like I said, they've kind of got their place, but overall they're not my favorite thing to use. But anyways, that's a couple things I'm working on out here in the fur shed. Come out, you know. It's getting dark earlier now, so I'll be able to. I'll spend more time in here, in weekdays, weekends, or whatever, and get stuff caught up, get stuff ready for season. I thought I'd be farther along at this point than I am as far as being ready for the upcoming season, but I think most of us kind of probably go through that. Summer's busy time, and days are long, and you know, you don't want to spend time in the shed working on this kind of stuff, you know, when you got daylight hours. So, anyways. Time to get this stuff done and ready for the season.